that Stephanie White is in fact trying to turn the Indiana Fever into last year's Connecticut Sun. Stephanie White let it slip. She said she wanted to, let Caitlin be Caitlin. And it is very clear her offensive philosophy. It is very clear what Stephanie White is trying to do.
She was hailed as the perfect coach for Caitlin Clark, a triumphant homecoming queen destined for glory. But the dream has quickly become a nightmare. The Indiana Fever, once poised for an electrifying new era, is now spiraling. Its generational star visibly stifled, and the blame is falling squarely on head coach Stephanie White. What went so terribly wrong? This isn't just about missed shots, it's about a profound, almost unbelievable unraveling, and the shocking truth points to a system designed to fail its biggest star.
Stephanie White and Christy Sides. It's hard to believe we're even bringing up Christy Sides' name, but that's where we are. Why? Because we got Fever fans that are missing her. Last Christy Sides was let go, and we thought we were sold a bill of goods that Stephanie White was going to be this up.
The moment Stephanie White walked back through the doors of Gainbridge Fieldhouse, it felt, to many, like an undeniable stroke of destiny. An Indiana native, a former Purdue star, a player etched into the very fabric of the state's basketball lore, and the very woman who had already led this franchise to the WNBA Finals back in 2015, her return was met with an almost dizzying level of adulation.
It is very, very clear what Stephanie White is trying to do with this team. And what she's trying to do with this team is she wants them to turn into she wants them to be old WNBA. She wants them to be old WNBA. And she wants the team to be what she had success with in Connecticut. She doesn't want this team playing fast. She wants them.
Her hiring was celebrated with universal acclaim, sparking a rare sense of unity among a passionate fan base. Fans erupted in joy, analysts showered her with praise, and even the most cynical observers in the sport nodded in approval, convinced that this was the definitive turning point. White looked on paper like the absolutely perfect addition to a Fever team that had just landed Caitlin Clark, the most hyped, most scrutinized, and arguably most revolutionary rookie in WNBA history.
All right, Fever fans, it's time to have a very difficult conversation. One that we don't really want to talk about. The question is, what are we going to do about Stephanie White? A lot of you were screaming, get rid of Christy Sides. For Stephanie White, you were happy, you were excited, you were stoked. But I think Stephanie White has a lot to do with this team's failure.
This was it, the perfect storm of veteran coaching prowess, burgeoning young talent, and an opportunity that felt preordained. A championship window, once a distant fantasy, was about to be blown wide open, with White poised to guide Clark's explosive genius to unprecedented heights. The narrative wrote itself, seemingly without a single plot twist in sight, promising an era of dominance.
And I'm talking about being happy personally. Like, I want her to be happy personally. I mean, there's so many things that go into it. It's a different group. While system might still be very similar, it's a different group, and things are happening quickly. And
I cannot believe, I mean this when I say this, I cannot believe the Indiana Fever had what was the best offense in the WNBA post-Olympic break and hired the coach with the worst offense in WNBA to bring the worst offensive system to the best offensive team. What are we doing? Like, again, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Stephanie White is...
But here we are, just a few months into what was supposed to be a fairy tale, and the honeymoon phase is officially brutally over. What started as a dream scenario has not merely devolved, it has plunged into a nightmare, with Fever fans making their voices heard in ways that would make a buzzer-beater crowd seem quiet. Their anger, their confusion, their outright frustration is palpable, fueled by what they're witnessing on the court.
They need to hire an NBA coach like Mark Jackson. And I became the Leo DiCaprio meme holding the beer and the cigarette pointing at the TV, because when Christy Sides got fired last year, I said, hire Mark Jackson or Larry Bird. You need a National Basketball Association male coach in there that doesn't give a rip what any of these other women in this league think. Doesn't have a connection to them. None of that. But has a connection to Indiana. Obviously a deep-seated one. Both have coached. Both have done well. Larry's getting long in the tooth. I get it. But he could probably do it for a couple of years. My point was a couple of years. Similar style to Caitlin Clark's play. And get her into the over the hump of the trials and tribulations of being in a professional.
White's stated vision for Caitlin Clark was incredibly clear and endlessly repeated during her introductory press conferences. Let Caitlin be Caitlin. It was a promise that thrilled the fan base, hinting at the free-flowing, high-octane offense, the green light for audacious shots from anywhere on the court, and the revolutionary pace that Clark had mastered with such breathtaking success in college. Yet the reality on the court is a jarring, undeniable contradiction to that very promise. This isn't the fast-paced run-and-gun attack that made the Fever's post-Olympic break offense last year under the previous coach the undisputed best in the WNBA.
Stephanie White has flat out ruined this once great, electrifying, must-see TV Indiana Fever offense. There's no more excuses. It is what it is. But now, it doesn't work. She has broken this offense. I don't know if this is a sabotage job. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand how we went from literally the fastest offense to the slowest to second slowest team in the league. I don't understand how we get 2 fast break points in a game. I don't understand how we have 11 fast break points.
Instead, White's team now plays a slower, more deliberate, and frankly, a more stifled brand of basketball. It's an approach designed for an old WNBA, a system that prioritizes methodical set plays, traditional half-court movement, and a deliberate pace over the electrifying speed, spontaneous genius, and audacious range that defines Clark's game. The shocking truth, laid bare with every sluggish possession, is that the coach who vowed to unleash her star seems inexplicably determined to confine her.
The pace is too slow. They're doing set play. They're walking up the court. Last year, if you remember, Christie had them running up and down the court. I was one of those people last year in the beginning of the season. I said, Christie Sides got to go. I didn't like the way she managed the game. But when she made it to the playoffs, I thought she deserves another shot with new personnel. I think this team might be better with this skill, with this team, these skilled players, and Christie Sides. Because Christie Sides...
We went from literally the fastest offense in the league to the slowest, or at best, the second slowest. How can a team with Caitlin Clark, a player known for her lightning-fast transitions and quick-trigger threes, generate only 2 fast break points in an entire game, or struggle to get more than 10? It simply doesn't compute. This isn't just a stylistic preference, it feels like an active dismantling of what made this team, and its star, utterly special.
Also have questions about, well, was this whole thing mismanaged from the get-go? And I'm talking about the original quad injury, right? Never mind the Stephanie White's style of play. That's clearly not fitting with the personnel. That's not working. So, a byproduct of Stephanie White's latest shortcomings, and yeah, they won the game last night, but they almost blew it in the fourth quarter, just like they blew the game against the Sparks the night before in the fourth quarter. The Fever should have 2 straight victories right now, easily. Actually, 3, because they beat the Storm. They should be on a 3-game heater right.
Perhaps the most glaring and utterly baffling symptom of this systemic misdirection emerged from the controversial Dana Bonner situation. White brought in this 2-time WNBA champion, a highly respected veteran presence who was widely anticipated to be the missing piece. Bonner was meant to provide invaluable leadership, championship experience, and a steady hand for a young roster built around Clark. Instead, what unfolded was a strategic calamity, a move that seemed to rip the team's foundation from beneath its feet.
There wasn't an explanation for the tech that she got. You know, I think it was pretty obvious that stuff was brewing, right? When the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game. It's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete. And they're going to have their teammates' backs.
It's exactly what you expect, right? Out of.
Without warning, White changed her entire offensive system to try and fit Bonner into the team. She drastically steered away from the high-octane, up-tempo, Clark-centric offense that had just months prior made the Fever appointment television, generating buzz and excitement like never before. In its place, White installed a more traditional, post-up, heavy system, supposedly suited for Bonner's veteran sensibilities. The result was not just a disaster, it was a complete, unmitigated catastrophe. Bonner, the supposed linchpin of this new strategy, started just 3 of her 9 games, averaged a meager 7.1 points per game, and then vanished for personal reasons before ultimately requesting her release.
I don't understand. And it don't take a genius to figure out the formula in which we was running. We was running and gunning, playing fast. Stephanie White, again, we wanted no parts of your Connecticut offense. No parts of it. We wanted the defense. That's it. That's it. And at this point, I am missing Christy Sides, guys. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Once Christy Sides figured out that she needed to play Caitlin's style and let Caitlin do Caitlin, things was running well. I got to be honest with you. And it was must-see television. Must-see television. This is
the consequence. The Fever were left with a completely re-engineered offense, a system painstakingly designed for a player who quickly quit on the team, abandoning the very foundation and principles that were supposed to elevate their franchise cornerstone. This wasn't just a bad signing, it was an organizational decision that threw the entire team into disarray. A miscalculation of monumental proportions that has had cascading negative effects on player confidence and overall team cohesion.
Sophie Cunningham goes in the post-game press conference and confirms what we've all known all along. This locker room is split, and she uses the term different islands going on in this locker room. It turns out that Christy Sides and all of those toilet paper mummy activities, all those scavenger hunt activities, the wiffle ball coming back from the Olympic break, it turned out that those stupid games actually played a big part along with Erica Wheeler's veteran leadership, keeping this locker room, keeping this team together. We got no Erica Wheeler. We got no Christy Sides, the chaperone. We got none of that. And Sophie Cunningham confirms what we've all...
Now, with Bonner gone, Stephanie White is stuck playing a system that literally doesn't revolve around Caitlin Clark. The woman who was supposed to be the franchise cornerstone, the generational talent who single-handedly sells out arenas and shatters television viewership records, is being forced to operate within tactical constraints originally designed for a player who bailed. It's a baffling, almost maddening scenario for anyone who witnessed her collegiate dominance.
Case may be, this team is looking like it's out of control. We got DeWanna Bonner missing in action. Fans putting out missing posters of her. She's unfollowing people, pretty much deleting all of her Indiana Fever posts. It's looking freaking spooky. Now, I've been wanting to try to get...
The numbers don't lie, and they're telling a story that should terrify every Fever fan. Clark is averaging 18.2 points and 8.9 assists per game. Solid numbers by any measure, yes, but they are not the MVP caliber, game-breaking performance everyone expected, nor do they reflect the sheer, boundless potential she consistently displayed at the collegiate level. More concerning is what we're seeing, or rather, not seeing, on the court. Clark, who thrived in college by taking over games with audacious logo three-point shooting, impossible passes, and unparalleled court vision, is being asked to operate as a facilitator first and a scorer second.
Give them a benefit of the doubt, bro. Lynn Dunn, Stephanie White, the whole front office, even Kelly Cristobal. I thought they really had some things going when they brought in...
The must-see TV has faded, replaced by a constrained version of greatness. A player being asked to fit into a system rather than having the system built around her once-in-a-generation abilities. Her signature pull-up threes are fewer, her transition opportunities limited. It's no wonder former WNBA executive Lynn Dunn, a basketball mind with decades of experience, didn't mince words when she blasted White for holding Clark back, arguing that the coach and her star player have fundamentally different understandings of the sport itself. The pace is too slow, the offense is predictable, and the spontaneous magic that once defined Clark's play is conspicuous by its absence, replaced by a frustratingly controlled approach.
Here, Stephanie White overmanages. She micromanages. And she likes pace. Christy Sides didn't give a damn about pace. They were the fastest team in the WNBA. Do we give Stephanie a second look? Because I think this season is a failure. I didn't expect them to lose 6 games all year, let alone 6 or 7 games right out.
As if the tactical blunders and on-court struggles weren't enough, a deeply troubling, almost inexplicable pattern has emerged concerning Caitlin Clark's physical well-being. This season, she's already missed an unprecedented 6 games due to quad strains and groin injuries. An alarming absence for a player who, in her entire college career, had an ironclad record of never missing a single game. The timing of these injuries is suspicious, the frequency is alarming, and the pattern is becoming impossible to ignore, raising serious questions about player management. Clark's latest groin injury came with just 12 seconds left in a game the Fever had already decisively won against Seattle. This begs the most crucial question: why was she even on the court in garbage time? That, unequivocally, is a coaching decision, and it directly, tragically, led to Clark getting hurt. The most frustrating part? White's response to these recurring injuries has been tone-deaf at best and alarmingly detached at worst. When asked directly about Clark's groin injury, White admitted she found out late last night and then repeatedly stated, almost robotically, that she stays in her lane when it comes to medical decisions. This apparent lack of urgency, this unnerving disconnect from her star player's health status, it's all painting a stark, unsettling picture of a coach who is either not fully informed or not in complete control of her team's most valuable asset. Questions swirl about the initial quad injury and whether it was mismanaged from the get-go, setting a dangerous precedent for Clark's entire season and contributing to her current physical struggles. This is not just bad luck, it's a failure to protect the franchise's future. Beyond the tactical and health blunders, a more insidious issue has begun to rot the team from within: a deeply fractured locker room. The team's internal struggles, once whispered behind closed doors, were shockingly brought into the harsh light of public scrutiny by none other than Sophie Cunningham, one of the team's veteran leaders. Her post-game comments after the latest agonizing loss to the Sparks were particularly revealing, almost heartbreaking in their honesty. "We have our own islands," she lamented, her voice tinged with frustration, adding, "As one of the leaders of the team, I got to do a better job of grouping people." Islands in a locker room? That's not the language of a unified team fighting for a common goal. That's the chilling language of a deeply fractured group, struggling desperately to find its identity under a coaching staff that is, by all accounts, failing to provide direction or cohesion. Cunningham continued, her frustration evident, acknowledging that no one likes us and that the Fever are circled on everybody's schedule, a target for every opponent. While great teams thrive on being everyone's best shot, it's clear this Fever team is wilting under the pressure rather than rising to meet it. The irony is bitter, almost cruel. Last season, under the much-maligned Christy Sides, the team engaged in quirky, seemingly silly activities like toilet paper mummy games and scavenger hunts. These activities, despite seeming trivial, fostered a deep, undeniable sense of unity and camaraderie. With Sides gone and veteran Erica Wheeler, a key locker room leader and emotional glue, also departed, the cohesive bond holding this team together seems to have vanished, leaving behind isolated individuals and a palpable sense of internal division. The Indiana Fever currently sit at a mediocre 8-8 in the Eastern Conference, a record that screams underperformance, mediocrity, and outright disappointment in the loudest possible way. This is not just a bad record, it's an indictment of the entire organization. This is a team that added significant talent in the offseason, retained its core pieces, and brought in a proven coach with a supposed championship pedigree. Instead of taking the crucial next step toward championship contention, they're treading water, barely staying afloat, and visibly sinking into a pool of missed opportunities. The franchise has not merely plateaued, it has unequivocally regressed from their playoff appearance last season, and the eye test is even worse than the record suggests. The Fever are consistently blowing leads in crucial moments, failing to execute in crunch time, and showing a complete lack of identity on both ends of the floor. When you have a generational talent like Caitlin Clark, an all-star center in Aaliyah Boston, and a roster built specifically to complement their skills, an 8-8 record isn't just disappointing, it's a damning indictment of the coaching staff's ability to maximize talent and create a winning culture. The pressure isn't just mounting on Stephanie White, the entire front office structure that made the fateful decision to hire her is now under intense, unyielding scrutiny. Kelly Kroskoff, the president of basketball operations who championed White's hiring, is now facing profound questions about whether she made the right choice, a decision that could define her legacy within the organization. When you have a generational talent like Clark, there's no room for error. Every single decision, every system implemented, every player acquired should be made with one singular overriding question in mind. Does this unequivocally help Caitlin Clark dominate basketball games? The uncomfortable truth for Fever fans is this: Stephanie White's system simply does not work with this roster, and especially not with this particular generational talent, leading to a visible lack of control within the team. Here's the chilling, unavoidable reality that should terrify every Fever fan. Championship windows don't stay open forever. This is not a rebuilding year. This is the very prime of Caitlin Clark's burgeoning career. Aaliyah Boston is rapidly developing into a bona fide superstar, and the supporting cast, on paper, is as good as it's ever been. The pieces are undeniably there. The opportunity is knocking, perhaps for the final time in this specific configuration. But if the coaching staff, led by Stephanie White, can't figure out how to maximize this extraordinary talent, if they can't build a system that unleashes Clark and puts her in the optimal position to dominate, then this entire experiment, this grand, celebrated vision, will be remembered as a catastrophic, almost unforgivable failure. The pressure is mounting with every passing game. The expectations are clearer than ever, and the patience of Fever fans is wearing thin, threatening to snap. Stephanie White looked like the perfect choice when she was hired, the triumphant homecoming queen. But perfect choices don't lead to frustrating 8-8 records, deeply fractured locker rooms, and a visibly stifled generational talent. Based on what we've seen unfold on and off the court, Fever fans have every right to be furious about that increasingly terrifying possibility. The question isn't whether fundamental changes need to be made within the Indiana Fever organization. It's whether those changes will come swiftly enough, decisively enough, before it's tragically, irrevocably too late. Because right now, in broad daylight, the Indiana Fever are failing Caitlin Clark. And that, perhaps above all else, is a sin that should never be forgiven.